when it comes to the imposition of these Luciferian ideologies, it's all about making it palatable. It's all about trying to impress it on people and have them accept it in a way where it's normal. None of these things are normal. Abortion, transgenderism, homosexuality, even witchcraft. None of these things are normal in the grand scheme of things. These are all abnormal Luciferian ideologies, Luciferian practices, so on and so forth. It's important for us to understand and maintain that spiritual eye when it comes to how we gauge these things. In this segment here, you have a woman who's obviously a witch. She's wearing a blue dress. The blue represents Saturn as well as black and purple. Just when it comes to that world, we already know on the right hand, the blue represents the natural element of man. But, the blue on the left hand side represents Saturn as well as the moon. So she plays that role of the witch in this segment by imposing this ideology on the children. But she's not so much so imposing it on the children because these children, they already are aware of what abortion is. And it just speaks to the vibration of this world. These children, they should not understand what abortion is because if they have an understanding of abortion, then they have an understanding of sex. So we live in a world where everything is just based off of do what you want, do what thou wilt, and anything goes. This is a bugged out, corrupt society. And something that's quote unquote taboo, they shun it, they shit on it. As far as having an understanding of what's right when it comes to people who have a stance on abortion that's contrary to these Luciferian people who uphold it, contrary to these Luciferian agendas, contrary to these motherfuckers who spearhead these ideologies. So it's just important for us to maintain that spiritual eye and just keep up the understanding because in these last days, it's going to get worse and worse. And, we can't marvel. I know it's hard and I say that out of my own mouth and sometimes I fall off. But it's important for us not to marvel and get astonished too much by this stuff because it's only going to get worse. And it's just used as, a way to build us up because it's these trying times that's meant to make us stronger.
So what are we here to talk about today?
Well, I had an abortion.
Oh.
So what do you know or what have you heard about abortion?
I don't exactly know what happens, but you go and basically get rid of the baby from inside you.
What have you heard?
That.
Same thing. Have you ever talked to somebody about abortion before?
I actually wrote a paper in 5th grade about it.
Wow. What was your paper about?
Abortion is okay. And it also depends on what's happening and why they got the abortion.
So you think it's okay depending on the circumstances?
They try to set these children up as beacons of enlightenment. And notice the young brother here is wearing black, red, and white, and she's wearing the blue. So the Masonic element is there as well in regards to the principles, the blue and the red. Just that yin and yang element, the duality element. And also she's white and he's black. And he has a fro. But they try to set these young children up as beacons of enlightenment, as if they have the answers. They have a clear view of life. They're young children. They're feeble-minded. They don't have an understanding of life. But, they try to make it seem as if their opinions is something that we should take seriously. And I'm not saying that you don't have children that are bright or you can see some potential in a child when it comes to just the prognosis of his wisdom and his intelligence. But at the same time, a child is a child, bro. So at the end of the day, it's but so much that you can take from a child when it comes to something serious as this topic. They try to make this acceptable. They use children. They use just pretty much the mindset of just a simple-minded demographic. Women, won't necessarily say children because, they're children, but women, homos, cis males. It's just a crazy world we live in, man. They don't care about the opinion of the astute young so-called black male, young so-called black man, or older so-called black man. They're going to talk to cis males and children and lesbians and shit. It's just crazy, man.
Why did you have an abortion?
A few years ago, I got pregnant and I really didn't want to have a baby.
May I ask what happened? Did he not wear a condom? Did the condom break? Was it pre-ejaculation?
Such good questions, Vanessa.
Thank you.
He wasn't wearing a condom.
Why wasn't he wearing a condom?
Have you ever had two options and one of them seems easier at the time?
Oh yeah. Like you could take a shortcut or you could go the long way.
It was the
around.
shortcut version.
So the reason why you killed your fetus was because you just didn't want to have the baby. That's your logic right there. You just didn't want to have the baby. You knew that the guy that you laid down with didn't have a condom on, so chances are you could get pregnant. Even if he pulled out, chances are you could get pregnant. So you still knew what you was getting yourself into. You still knew there was a possibility you could get pregnant, and you still decided to abort your fetus. And they try to justify these things. You know, they make these justifications normal, or they try to make it acceptable. Like, she didn't even really answer the question. And she really made it open-ended. You know what I mean? It's like they try to justify these things in a way where it's normal. It's like, hey, I just didn't want to have the baby. It's okay. It's so crazy, man. This is how you know that these women that they set up to be leaders of these Luciferian or societal norms, it just shows that everything is going to go downhill based off of that. That's why they setting up women to be so high. That's why they putting women in a high regard in these last days. Because the woman is naturally emotional, naturally illogical. They just are. There's no disrespect. Obviously, we already know there's good women out here, there's intelligent women out here, so on and so forth, but we already understand the natural element of them, and this is why they being set up so high. They're not going to set up a logical man that's astute, that understand what time, but they're not going to push them. They push the woman because the woman is naturally confused about life. She just is. That's why she think these things is okay, because she's Eve. She's going to conform to these Luciferian agendas easily. And the children, they just a byproduct of that, because children are feeble-minded. So if you set the women up as leaders, then they teach the children, they lead them astray. The Most High set up the order as the Most High, Christ, and man and woman and child. So they understand that the woman teaching the child, that's going to be impactful. And they set that order up just on just that front in regards to the woman and the child, not the order as a whole, obviously. Just that order of women and children. That's why they synonymous. That's why you say no women, no children. You know, they try to set these women up to be leaders, try to set these demographics up to be leaders. Like, this is the opinion that you should, take in high regard. This is what you should agree with.
What did your partner think at the time?
I think we were both bummed out that I got pregnant, and he was just supportive of what I wanted to do.
Were you reckless at the time?
I wouldn't really say that I was being reckless.
You were being reckless, because if you wasn't, you would just say no. You didn't answer that question abruptly. You just, you took your time with that one because you knew that that's what it was. So at the end of the day, man, this just speaks to why it's important for us to not take these people seriously. Not just women, but people who think like this, people who conform to these ideologies, people who lean on these type of agendas. Because obviously you have women that don't fuck with this type of stuff. So it's not just about the woman. It's really about the mindset. It's really about the people who align themselves with this shit, man. And it's not the children's fault, they don't understand shit. But they try to make it seem as if we should take them seriously. We live in an upside down world, man. We really, really live in an upside down world. And it's becoming more glaring that we live in an upside down world. Evil for good and good for evil.
Mistakes happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't do that in the moment. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I'm glad.
He said, I don't know. Right, that's the logic of the female, where you just stuck. Like, what the hell is she talking about? You just don't do that in the moment. Like, what are you talking about? At the end of the day, you laid down with someone who didn't have a condom on, so you were aware of what you could or what could happen. It just shows the lack of accountability when it comes to the natural element of the woman. Women naturally don't hold themselves accountable. They don't. They just don't. And it just is what it is, man. This is how you know that we living in a society that's spiraling downhill, because they setting up these people to be leaders.
When you have an abortion, what exactly do you do to like have the abortion?
You go to the doctor and they put this little straw inside of your cervix and then inside of your uterus, and then they just suck the pregnancy out. And it was like a crappy dentist appointment or something. It was just like, this is like a body thing that's kind of uncomfortable. But then it was over, and I felt really just grateful that I wasn't pregnant anymore.
I've gotten into many an internet argument about it. Facebook, Instagram, just all the social media.
That's where that
really,
goes down.
it's so taboo to a lot of folks, and I don't know why.
Do you think that?
Well, you don't know why, because you're a child. You're a child. That's why you don't know why. At the end of the day, like, you have no understanding of structure. You have no understanding of what's right according to GP, according to general principles and morale or morality. You have no understanding of that because you were born into a society full of Luciferian ideologies. You were born into a matrix. And I know I was born into a matrix, but I wasn't born in the time where it was at its heights like it is now. I'm sure that the girl that said that, she was probably born in like the early 2000s or so, the mid 2000s. So she has no understanding of structure or understanding of, there's just morality, just general principles when it comes to right and wrong, because she wasn't taught that, because she was born into a world where what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right. Like the real principles of this society, or the vibrations, is just all based off of Luciferianism. That's what it is. As above, so below. Like, we have to understand these things. Certain people, like, you can't marvel at it. You just have to have an understanding based off of what it goes back to. And, the manifestations of it, it proves that this is the vibration of the world. Like, it shows that we live in a left-hand society. Because when you have a segment where a woman is trying to justify aborting a fetus, then you already know what world we live in, especially if the children already understand, what abortion is, and certain children are leaning on, justifying abortion. You already know we living in a world that's gone downhill. Like, kids shouldn't even know what the hell abortion is until a certain age. Because before that, you learn about sex. So that's how like, we just living in a bugged out world where it's like these Luciferian ideologies, they making them normal. Pretty soon, pederasty and all that shit gonna be normal. Like, they're gonna justify why it's okay for a man to be with a young child, or for a child to be exploited in a way where he's being overly sexualized. It's okay. Like, we even saw it with Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union and his child. These are ways where they try to make it normal, where they try to, they pretty much want people to be so, conform to it, or what's the word I'm looking for? They try to desensitize it, to the point where people don't even get shocked by it anymore, because they pushing it through so many different avenues. It's just crazy, man.
Sometimes it's not okay to have an abortion.
I want to say if you're being reckless, if there's nothing wrong going on.
I don't know. I just don't agree. Do we want people to just have all those babies?
No.
So what do we do with them?
So she's pushing that depopulation agenda, as well as the understanding of what they worship when it comes to Molech. Because to even make it seem as if it's a problem to have babies, like, What are you gonna do with all those babies? Like, what the hell? Why is it a problem? And I'm not even talking about the aspect of you being uncertain or responsibilities that come with having a child, raising a child. I'm just talking about why is it a problem that a child enters into the world? Like, she's making it seem like that's just an issue as far as like babies being born. Like, that's how you know that this person is being used. This person is a pawn. She's a witch. She's set up to pretty much demolish anything that's contrary to these ideologies. And we already know what's contrary to it. What's contrary to it is normality. What's contrary to it is sanity. What's contrary to it is righteousness, morality, general principles, family structure. So they push all these things that acts as, a counterbalance or, the antithesis to what's real and what's right. What are you going to do with all those babies? Like, what are you talking about? That's how you know that it's more to it than just abortion. It's more about the worship of the god of child sacrifice, that being Molech. Because she's trying to make it seem as if it's a problem now that babies are entering into the world. What are you going to do with all those babies? Well, put them up for adoption or some shit. Like, what are you talking about? You're making it seem like it's an issue that babies are being born. This person is a witch, man. That's all it is. This person is a witch. And look at her, looking wicked as fuck. Looking at this young boy and shit, all wicked and shit. Like, we have to understand what time it is in this world right now. And notice, like, he's playing like the dual aspect. Because on one side, he says that it's okay, but on the other side, he's trying to reason in regards to why it's not okay, or, why she shouldn't abort a fetus. So he's playing that duality role. And like I said, he's black, she's white, they come together. So you already have that element that's persistent there.
Put them up for adoption.
I feel like if I am forced to create life, I have lost the right to my own life. I should.
You see that logic? That logic is silly and it doesn't even make any sense. How do you lose the right to your life if you're forced to create life? You're not forced to create life. You choose to create life when you lay down with someone and have sex with them. You're not forced into anything. And if you're saying forced to create life in terms of, birthing a child, that's not creating life. Creating life is you coming together with a man and you guys having sex, and there's conception there. And then there's a period where you gestate the fetus coming from the seed, entering into the egg, so on and so forth. And then you birth the child. Like, that's not you being forced to do anything. You chose that based off of your willingness to have sex with a man without a condom. But they try to make it seem as if it's like oppression. I gotta birth this child. It's harmful to me. I could kill myself. Well, you chose that. Hold yourself accountable. You see, these are ways in which they try to push these things to make women feel like they shouldn't hold themselves accountable. I know I'm explaining that in a clunky way, but this is a mechanism that they push. So subconsciously women could take this as, it's okay for me to do this then. You know what I mean? And not just women, just everybody. For them to align themselves with this type of thought process, or to pretty much side with it. Not necessarily align themselves with the thought process, but more so just side with it. Like, no, man. Like, it's corny. Your logic is off. It's not like you're in jeopardy of, and you're in danger or anything like that, unless you have some sort of health ailment or what have you. But at the end of the day, it was your choice to lay down with someone without a condom. That's where it stems from. And that's how you know, like, they just hide from accountability.
Be the one to decide if my body creates a life. Even if you're giving a kid up for adoption, you still have a kid out there.
She says, I should be the one to decide if my body creates a life. Well, you decided that when you laid down with that man. It's not about giving birth. It's about the fact that you laid down with that man. You knew that this could potentially happen based off of your decision making with laying down with that man. So like they don't ever want to touch on that aspect. They touch on it lightly because the woman is not used to accountability. The woman don't look at, well, I did this, so this is the after effects of what I did. They never look at it like that. And I know this because I've experienced this with plenty of women I've been with, where it's like, even when they do something, they try to deflect the blame on you in some way, or they try to like make it seem as they try to victimize themselves and make it seem as you're the one that's, you know, the issue when they're the issue. Like they made it the issue. It's just crazy, man. That's the world we live in. But this is how you know that everything's spiraling downhill, because they try to make this the logic that you should, you know, you should accept.
Somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Are you religious at all?
I believe in God.
What do you think that God thinks about abortion?
Well, obviously, abortion is detestable to the Heavenly Father. And that's not me just saying that. That's just something that I understand based off of the standard that is of the Heavenly Father. And obviously, we know that the worship of Molech is based in child sacrifice, which is contrary to the Heavenly Father and his laws, statutes, and commandments, which he commanded Israel to not do. You know, also, thou shalt not cast your child into the fire of Molech. Abortion represents child sacrifice. That's what it represents. So this person already understands what she's doing when it comes to her asking that question. It's kind of like a mockery. What do you think God thinks of it? You already know what the Most High thinks of it, because you're someone who's an antichrist. And an antichrist is not somebody who's a denier of Christ per se. It's not just about that. It's more so about someone who's against anything that's of the righteous elements that pertains to the Heavenly Father. Anything that's of, you know, what's contrary to the righteous elements to the Heavenly Father, what pertains to the Heavenly Father. So this person acts as the antithesis to the Heavenly Father into righteousness. She's playing the role of a witch. And, you know, she doesn't really care because she's someone who has no fucking soul. But you look at this and you see her ask this question to this young man. Notice that the first question that she asked about something pertaining to the spiritual element, the first person she asked this question to was a so-called black man. Right? And then you have this element where this young child, obviously because it's a child, he's going to answer this question based off of his personal feelings. He's not going to answer this question based off of what he knows. But that's what it's about when it comes to the understanding of the Heavenly Father. It's based off of what you know. If you don't know, then you don't know. Like, we live in a very, very, very confusion-based world, you know? Where it's like we've grown to accept that it's okay for us to just say certain shit like, well, I believe this, or I think this, or God, you know, if like, do you read a book? Did you open up the Bible and you know, have you been able to form your own opinion based off of what you read in the Bible, or are you just saying that because that's something you've been told about God, or this is what you hear about God, or you just have your own idea of what God is, so you just form your own opinion on the Most High based off of what your idea of God is to you? That's how these people work in this society. And obviously we understand that it's a remnant of us that get it. Therefore, the Most High is only dwelling with a remnant of us. And there's an inkling of that spiritual element here on this earth. But aside from that, it's nothing but Luciferianism, perilous times. Everything is all polluted with just left-handed things, left-handed ideologies. And not just the ideologies, but just the physical element of the left hand. You know what I mean? So we already know what we up against. But yeah, asking this question of, oh, what do you think God thinks of it? Well, we already know what the Most High thinks of it, and we already know what he's going to say. And so it's like, it just persists. It continues to persist.
If I were to say, I think like he's fine with it because there are still babies being born. What do you think God thinks about abortion?
I think it's all part of God's plan.
Just a joke. And this dude says, this young child says, I think he's okay with it because babies are still being born. This is why it's important for us not to take the mindset of the child seriously, as well as the woman. And the reason why I say the child is because the child is synonymous with the woman. They just are. A child, a woman, a transgender, and a quote unquote male, cis male. It's the reason why they call themselves cis, because they understand that they're not men. They know that they not fucking men, so they make up a term to justify the soft, beta male ass nigga. You know what I mean? Like, so they say cis. All those people think alike. Children, women, cis male, they all think alike. They all think off of what they feel. They don't go off of the pragmatic aspect of things. They go off of what they want shit to be. That's just what it is. That's why you cannot take these people serious, man. You just can't. It's just impossible to take these people serious. And she says it's all part of God's plan. This person is a joke.
That's smarter than what I said.
I really was just thinking about Drake when I said that.
You see her dumb ass. She talks about thinking about Drake when she said that. And it's more so subconsciously or just, in a roundabout way, giving off those, serpent vibes, because Drake goes back to dragon. Dragon means serpent. So that's also a way where she's giving off those vibes, those Luciferian vibes of the serpent energy. And we already know the serpent came to Eve. Eve was beguiled because she's feeble just like a child. And that rhyme, I already know. Yeah, I like the rhyme.
Are you guys religious?
Yeah, I'm Catholic.
Have you ever heard of what the Catholic Church thinks about abortion?
I don't think the church liked it.
Yeah.
Because they see it as killing the baby.
They see it as killing a baby. No, that's just what it is. It's not that they see it as that. That's what it is. It's killing a living creature. And they're going to go more into it where they try to make it seem as if a child, a life isn't inside you after conception, which is this fucking silliest thing in the world. And this is why you should not be taking children seriously, man. You just can't.
What do you guys think?
I think that it's up to you.
Same.
Because
I feel supported by that. I believe that life begins when a person has a baby.
Oh.
Clearly
That's not true, but they're going to go into it.
Oh.
Clearly, some people believe that life begins at conception.
Which it doesn't.
Do you know what conception?
I mean, it's not a belief. It's just a fact that life begins after conception. Because at the end of the day, after you conceive, in the woman, in her belly, in her womb or what have you, there's cultivation, which means that the baby is growing. The fetus is growing inside of her. So you have life force progression. You have cultivation. You have a process in which the fetus turns into an infant and then the baby is born. And through that gestation period, like I said, you have a process of cultivation. It's growing inside of your womb. Therefore, you have life in your womb. You have life in your womb. It's growing inside of you. Just that alone, debunks any sort of notion that, after conception, there's no life inside you. So what the fuck is inside you? This is a reason why you have a term called miscarriage or stillbirth. Because the baby died inside of you. It had to be living if it died, right? You fucking idiot. Oh my gosh, man.
Does that make sense? I mean,
When a sperm enters an egg,
into the egg.
it becomes a fetus, and then the fetus is in a lady's tummy, or in the womb. It's not really a human being yet.
That's how I feel.
So this right here is just a part of justifying abortion by trying to make it seem as if, well, it's not a life anyway. Stop, man. Just stop. When you have an understanding of just things based off not just three-dimensionally, but just common sense type shit, then it's just easy to gauge what's at hand in regards to the agendas. Because they try to take away common sense with shit like this. Well, it's not a life in you when you conceive, so what the fuck is going on in there then? Life is all about constant growth. Literally. Every day we grow. Not physically, there's a time where you stop, but every day you're getting older and older and older. Everything is all about force. Everything is all about continuance. So when you have cultivation, when you have conception, the baby is going through a cultivation process that's in continuance. That's life. Life stops when you die. That's life, man. So like these people, they have no idea what the fuck they talking about. But this is what they want to set up as the barometer for what's right and what's wrong. Children, women, homosexuals, cis males. Like these are the people that's being set up as leaders and rulers. Now, what this dude right here is about to say, this white kid right here, he's about to say something that's relatively on point in the way that he explains it. Even though he gives off these homosexual vibes, but he's relatively on point what he's about to say.
Yeah, I kind of like to compare it to like a sea cucumber. It's not thinking, it's just living. It's like your arm is not capable of complex thought. Neither is a baby inside your womb.
Exactly. It's not capable of complex thought, but it's living, it's growing. That's why, like I said, when you miscarry, what do they label that as? The baby died in your womb because it was growing. That's why through a 9-month period, the belly obviously is at its normal looking stages, and then it grows. And then the woman starts to have a belly, a big, like a pot belly. But we already know that, she's pregnant. It's a baby, a healthy baby inside of her. It's healthy because it was cultivated. It was living. The woman that was pregnant, she was eating certain foods to help benefit in the progress or the process of the cultivation. That's why you got to stay away from certain foods that you eat when you're pregnant. Because it's all about maintaining the life force of the baby while cultivating, through the cultivation process. And the reason why I'm laughing at it is because it's fucking common sense. And like anybody with a fucking brain and understanding of, what, like pragmatism, like if you pragmatic, then, it's easy for you to gauge these things. But if you're somebody that's just open-minded per se, then obviously you're going to be willy-nilly with shit. Like you're going to try to play both sides. No, it's either this is right or this is wrong. And, you can't go by the logic of these people, man. You just can't.
I like your take.
At any point were you like considering not doing it?
No, actually, for me, it was like an instant feeling. Like I was like, I'm pregnant. Okay, I'm having an abortion.
Was your family mad or?
Right. It was an instant feeling because that just taps into the natural element. No, I ain't going to say that. That just taps into what this person is. She's a witch. So obviously that just goes into, what pertains to those type of practices, child sacrifice. I know, what people may be hearing me and they may be saying, oh, he bugging out. But for her to say that it was instant for her, it was more than just, I want to kill his baby. It's more about what she's aligned with. This person is a fucking witch. And this is just what I pick up on. This is how I see it. And based off of the things that I understand about this world. You know what I mean?
Okay.
They were okay. Yeah, they were like really supportive, which I think was another reason I wasn't scared, is because I knew that I had so much support.
Have you told a lot of people or just your host family?
I told my Lyft driver on my way here. I've told so many people about my abortion. So I decided to tell everyone on Facebook that I had had an abortion and that I was choosing to tell people that because I felt like the pro-choice movement was really silent. This status update went viral, which like wasn't just people being like, hey, I had an abortion too. Yay, let's talk about it. There were like a lot of super angry people who were like harassing and abusing and threatening me.
I like to post
You see, they try to victimize themselves, make it seem like they're oppressed by people who still lean on the righteous elements of life. You know what I mean? Like, this is the battle, man. This is the battle. And sometimes, like, I don't even like to cover these things because it's a vexation of spirit. It's like, you don't even want to sit through this shit. Like, sometimes I try to avoid these things as far as, like, these things that I'm not of. And you can't. You just can't. And obviously, it's one of those things where you want to make great content. You want to make the best content possible. So You have to sit through these things and, stand before this shit per se. But sometimes I just hate even like just covering these things because it vexes my spirit. Like I like to dwell in my little safe haven where none of this shit is around me. That's why it's important to stay to yourself sometimes, man, because it's so much avenues of Luciferianism out here. There's so many people out here that uphold to these type of ideologies, and it manifests itself when it comes to your interactions with them and shit. Like, oh my God, man. If you guys like understood what my world was like, man, then you understand what I'm talking about to a T, like 100%. And I'm sure most of you brothers already understand what I'm talking about. But yo, like this world, man, you gotta protect your spirit. You gotta protect your spirit. Gotta protect your spirit, man.
Controversial things. I think everyone should, within reason, have self-autonomy. I'll post on Facebook sometimes, like, just your friendly reminder that abortion isn't murder.
Shut up, man. I'm done with this shit. This bitch just said abortion is a murder. I'm done with this video here. God bless you all, and just understand that when it comes to all these different tools that acts as, modes of imposition just for the Luciferian agenda, we have to spot it and understand what we need to do from there. We can't allow ourselves to let these things, take hold of us. And obviously we strong enough to combat it, but just in the sense of certain people who aren't really spiritually strong, you got to get that spiritual armor. You got to grow in that. You got to protect your spirit. You have to protect your spirit out here. Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 21. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy power. I am the Lord. So when it comes to the modern day practice of passing your seed through the fire, we already understand that that's abortion. Abortion is pretty much the veneration of Molech when it comes to child sacrifice, as well as just killing a child in general. But we know the practice of abortion is just a roundabout way of venerating their god, that being the goat, that being Molech, as well as the Baphomet, which is a composite of Molech or Pan or, Saturn, Khnum. That's what it represents just when it comes to that practice of abortion. The reason why it's pushed so heavily is because it represents the veneration of Molech. And even though certain, women who get abortions, they don't understand that, that's still what it is. That's still what it is.